Hi, I'm Kevin Hatley and welcome to Kevin Hatley Photography in my office. This is a channel that I've set up to share my experiences of wildlife and nature with others. So let's go. Hi, what I want to do in this video is set you a challenge. And that challenge is to photograph the smallest bird in Europe, the Goldcrest. Well, how difficult is that challenge going to be? What I want to do now is just have a look at this short clip, and that will show you just how challenging it can be. I think that you can see from that clip, the Goldcrest isn't an easy subject to photograph. They're in and they're out of the branches and the twigs, searching for food. So let's go and photograph the Goldcrest together. So what we'll do in this video is we'll look at the Goldcrest, we'll look at how to identify the Goldcrest, we'll look at their habitat, where to find them, look a bit about their lifestyle and their behaviour, and then I'll share with you my approach to photographing the Goldcrest, and I'll share some top tips with you along the way. So let's go. So how do we identify the Goldcrest? Well, the Goldcrest is Europe's smallest bird and it weighs between 4 and 6 grams. It's probably about the size of your thumb, if that. Identifying features, it's mainly olive green on top. It's got a black and white striped wing, yellow legs. It's got a very thin sharp bill, which is really useful for getting into the pine needles on these trees and feeding on the insects, and it's got a very dark eye. The Goldcrest crown, where it gets its name from, on the female it is mainly yellow, and on the male there's a slight orange tint to the crown itself, and the crown is edged with 2 black stripes running down the side. And that's how we identify the Goldcrest. Another identifying feature of the Goldcrest is its call. It's got a very high pitched call consisting of quick repeated small chirps. It's a very high pitched call, and for some people it can be quite difficult to hear it, but here it is. The Goldcrest can only really be confused with one other bird, and that's the firecrest, which is a relatively rare bird here in the UK. In fact, I've never seen one. This photograph that you're looking at now was kindly sent to me by a good friend of mine, Kevin Bryant, who lives in the Shetland Islands, and Kevin gets some great photographs of migrant visitors that have been blown off course from all parts of the Northern Hemisphere. He's a great photographer, and thanks very much, Kevin, for this picture. The easiest way to tell the difference between a firecrest and a Goldcrest is that the firecrest has a white stripe running across its eye above and below. The thin bill on the firecrest extends into the black stripe going through the eye, and that's how to tell the difference between a firecrest and a Goldcrest. 2 beautiful little birds, and the firecrest is only a tiny little bit bigger than the Goldcrest. When it comes to the Goldcrest habitat, Goldcrests prefer coniferous type trees, things like spruce and yew trees, but they can be found in coniferous woodlands, deciduous woodlands, and also in parks and gardens with large trees. Each winter, and today, luckily enough, but today we've seen our first snowfall here in the UK, and it's at this time of the year that we get lots of migrant visitors, and we get an influx of Goldcrests as well. And it's probably the best time of the year to see them, but they do prefer coniferous type trees, and it's amazing to think that these small birds actually fly across the North Sea to come here to the UK. When it comes to the Goldcrest diet, they feed mainly on insects. such as aphids, spiders, caterpillars, and also eat moth eggs. As we've seen previously, Goldcrests move very quickly when they're feeding through the tree branches, and it's these types of trees, which we'll talk about in a little bit later, that you'll find the Goldcrest feeding on, and they'll come right to the end of the tips of these branches, and they'll feed on the insects that are located on the tips of the branches. Tip number five in photographing the Goldcrest is all to do about location. Finding a good location for Goldcrests, you need to understand the habitat that they live in order to obviously find them and get near them to photograph them. One other thing that I have noticed with Goldcrests is that if there's a water supply nearby, they do like to actually bathe in them, and that can give you great opportunities to get the photographs that you're after. Goldcrests very seldom come to bird tables. You normally find them, as I keep saying, feeding on the edges of these branches, and that's the place to photograph them. So location is important, and knowing where to find yew trees and spruce trees and coniferous areas is important to that location as well. What I want to do now is share with you my approach to photographing Europe's smallest bird, the Goldcrest. As we've seen, they never sit still, they are always moving, and it can prove very difficult and very frustrating to photograph them and get good still images, as we said, due to the way that they move through the trees and the branches. I think that it certainly helps if you've got a good knowledge of the Goldcrest, about its lifestyle and its behaviour. A better understanding of that helps you to locate the Goldcrest and to get the opportunities to photograph them. Okay, what I want to do now is just take a little time out just to give you a look forward to a project I'm working on at the moment, which is winter visitors, or winter migrant visitors to here in the UK. Planning 2024 is to follow that up with one on spring visitors, summer visitors and autumn visitors. So look forward to winter visitors. And now back to the video. Okay, tip number three. Tip number three is to recognise the Goldcrest call. Keep saying it, difficult enough to find them, difficult enough to track them, but having that knowledge or knowing the Goldcrest call can allow you to locate the bird quicker and give you more time and more opportunity to photograph them in their habitat. Okay, what I want to do now is just talk about the camera settings that I use. I'll always set it to AF continuous. You need to be on continuous because it's a fast moving subject. Set it to your highest frame rate and use small fast bursts as you're photographing the bird. And I think that one of the most important points of camera settings is to set it to AF single point. The bird in the background, it's too easy for your autofocus to jump from the bird to the background. If you're on single point, get it on the bird and your autofocus should stay on it, and that will give you a better chance to get the images that you're after. And just remember to take small, quick bursts. When we talk about shutter speeds, because of the habitat, and this is the type of habitat that you'll find a Goldcrest in, it's quite dark, so you can get high ISO levels, but you need a fast shutter speed to photograph these birds. But the thing is, with modern day mirrorless cameras and post-processing using noise reduction, I use DxO, it shouldn't prove too much of a problem and you should be able to manage it. But you're going to need a high shutter speed, but just be aware, because of the habitat, of noise. Okay, tip number three in photographing the Goldcrest is I would recommend, if you've got a gimbal, to use a gimbal. We've seen how they move about in the branches and in the cover and in the shadows. If you're hand holding, it's very easy to lose them, and coupled with using long lenses, you're going to need something like a 300 to 500 millimeter lens to zoom in on them. I just find that a gimbal gives you that added support, and it means that if I lose the bird, I can come back roughly where it is and I'm straight back onto it again. So I find a gimbal really useful for photographing the Goldcrest. Using a gimbal where your camera is fully supported will also allow you to use slow shutter speeds, as I said earlier on. And again, that helps you to deal with your ISO. When it comes to exposure settings, again, small bird, very fast. You're looking at shutter speeds of between 1000 and 2000th of a second if you want to get a good clean sharp shot of this little bird. What I would do, or what I would recommend, is that you, again, it depends on the light, try and use as high shutter speed as you can. Remember the problem with noise though, your ISO levels, be aware of that. I would start off with, if it was a stationary bird, not that you'll ever see a Goldcrest absolutely stationary, you're looking at 1/1000th of a second. Open up your aperture, try and get as much light, again, dark environment. So for me on the RF 100 to 500, that's f7.1, and I always shoot in auto ISO. Goldcrests, as you see, can also feed on the ends of these branches by hovering. And what I would do is if you're looking for that photograph, up your shutter speed to about 1/2000th of a second, and maybe open up your close your aperture a little to about f8, and again auto ISO. I think that once you've got the images that you're after, if you really want to try and get better images, your camera's supported, then I would look to have my shutter speed, but only if it's fully supported, down to about 1/250th of a second. Again, f7.1 and auto ISO, but only if fully supported. Okay, tip number 2 on how to photograph the Goldcrest is all about behaviour. If you have a good understanding of the Goldcrest behaviour and how it survives in its environment, you're going to improve your chances of getting the images and getting closer to them to photograph Europe's smallest bird, the Goldcrest. Tip number 2, behaviour. Tip number 1 in photographing a Goldcrest is all about patience and perseverance. You need to employ a number of tactics if you want to get close to the Goldcrest to photograph it. And in my opinion, both patience and perseverance have got to be your priority in getting close to them to photograph them. It's not an easy challenge, but it's certainly a rewarding challenge to get these beautiful little birds. So what I want to do now is just leave you with some of my favourite images of the Goldcrest. Okay, thanks for watching this edition of Kevin Hatley Photography and how to photograph the Goldcrest. I'm sure that you can see it is a bit of a challenge to get near to these, well, to Europe's smallest bird and to photograph them. But as I said, with a bit of patience, a bit of perseverance, you should succeed. All I would ask is that if you've liked this video, could I ask you to hit the like button? Could I also ask you to subscribe to my channel, Kevin Hatley Photography. It's completely free, it doesn't cost anything, and what it does, it just helps me to improve my channel. And for me, it's about sharing my knowledge and my experience of photographing wildlife and nature here in the British Isles. So, until the next time, stay safe, take care, and I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.